Brain rot. I mean, I don't really know of any other explanation. Crime reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, so Harvey Levin, whatever, with TMZ has been talking about the Idaho case a lot lately for some reason. Now, I did see the TMZ clip and I do have it on a list of other videos that I plan on doing like little reaction things to, but I saw this one this morning where Harvey with TMZ did like a little interview with Ashley Banfield on News Nation, and it was just the most ridiculous thing ever. I recorded myself watching it, so I'm going to disappear now, and now you're going to watch me reacting to this boo-boo because damn.
Well, look, I mean, there is a lot of evidence here that links Bryan Kohberger to this crime. That's
off the bat. What do you mean? What do you mean there's a lot of evidence that links him to this crime? What? The only actual physical evidence that they're claiming that they have is this DNA on the knife sheath that even the defense is claiming, yeah, it's Bryan's. But they don't know how it got there, is what the defense is claiming. Other than that, that's all they got. And if he would have been paying attention to the court hearings, okay, he would have heard that all of the location-specific and time-specific information for that house when it comes to cell phone data, when it comes to the cameras, when it comes to traffic cams, when it comes to anything they're claiming to have had in this 51 terabytes, location-specific, time-specific to the crime, it's all missing. So not only do they not have what they need to convict Kohberger, they don't have what they need to convict anyone. That's a problem. That's a problem.
Said, I just do find it weird. And this is not to say that he did or didn't do it. But Ashley, somebody who has never committed a murder or, as far as we know, even a violent crime, going to a house that has 3 levels, 6 people inside, and a dog, where he would go up to the 3rd floor, kill 2 people, go down to the 2nd floor, kill 2 more, knowing that there are other people in the house. And the only thing he's armed with is a knife, doing that with 6 people, never having committed a crime before, knowing that one of the people in the house is a guy who's much more athletic, bigger than him, who could have heard a scream when he killed the first 2 people.
Yeah, okay, see, that's something that I've had huge issues with, which is why it's hard for me to think that, like, one person did this, okay? Even if you do give it the stupid little 8 minutes, okay? Because that's what they're giving us. They're giving us, like, 8 to 9 minutes from when they're trying to tell us that the car stopped moving, which, according to everything that I have researched, while Dylan was hearing all of these noises inside the house, that vehicle was still moving around the neighborhood. So if we take, like, the 4:12-ish TikTok from Xana, all the way to the 4:20-ish when the car is seen speeding away, that's where the little 8 minutes is coming from. Especially since they're telling us, according to this probable cause exhibit that Brett Payne wrote, that camera that's 50 feet away from Xana's room didn't pick up Murphy or any dog barking until like 4:17. That would kind of tell you that that's whenever the dog sensed that the person was in the house or that there was something going on. If you take that into consideration, 4:17 to the vehicle leaving at 4:20 is only 3 minutes. And that's just us going off what they've told us. Obviously, they're not telling us everything, but that's the narrative that they're telling us. Okay? Car is moving around, DoorDash gets dropped off, there's a few minutes of apparent normalcy, and she's on TikTok, Xana's on TikTok around 4:12, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. But that doesn't make sense to me, because if there was an attack going on upstairs and the two, Xana and Ethan, were very much coherent, ordering DoorDash, getting it from the door, if that's the way that it all went down, because even those things we have no true details on, okay? How did they not hear to call 911 from what was going on upstairs? Or even in the reverse, for the stuff that was going on the same floor that Dylan was on, if she could hear what was going on upstairs when it came to thinking that she heard Kaylee talking to Murphy and saying in her normal voice, hey, someone's here or something like that, you heard things that would make more sound than those things. You heard what would make more and louder sounds than just a normal speaking voice, your normal inside voice, okay? So even if it happened in reverse, even if Xana and Ethan were attacked first, that would mean that there was Dylan and Kaylee, who was probably awake playing with Murphy at the time, that would have heard the attack going on and still not called 911. Or whenever Xana and Ethan were getting the DoorDash and stuff was going on upstairs, they didn't think to run out the house? That's why it's strange to me, because it's literally almost as if they were all subdued at the same time. And we know from what we've heard, the only person that was probably really asleep was Maddie. I'm sticking to that for now. Now, it's a possibility that Ethan was maybe like laying down asleep, maybe not asleep, but like laying down, relaxing at some point. But there was a DoorDash order. And if the DoorDash order was really ordered by Xana, then I highly doubt she'd be ordering food just for herself and not for Ethan too. I feel like if the DoorDash order was really ordered by Xana on her account and she was the one who got the food, then it was a them two situation. I mean, Ethan could have been passed out and girl might have just been hungry and ordered herself some food because Ethan's passed out. That's very possible too. But with what we've heard and all of the changes and all the different things that we've heard about defensive wounds and locations of bodies and all these other things, it just doesn't seem like that was the case. It seems like Maddie would have maybe been the only one that was maybe actually asleep.
If he's guilty, and I have to preface, if he's guilty of this crime, he showed up thinking there'd be 5 girls, and he didn't expect a boy to be sleeping over, a very big boy.
No, if it was him and he was doing all these things, he did not show up expecting to find 5 girls. He showed up expecting to find 4, because Kaylee didn't live there anymore. It was just Maddie, Dylan, Xana, and Bethany.
Boy, Ethan Chapin. And maybe, just maybe, that stunned him. He was overwhelmed, and the battle became pitched. And that was enough for him to say, after the 3rd victim, and then suddenly a very large 4th victim, that he needed to get out of there. What do you think of that?
That doesn't make sense to me either, because the like heat of the moment fights, or like the crazy fight that could have ensued between him and Ethan, it would make more sense for the knife sheath to have been left in that situation. Honestly. Now, I have my own theory on if it could have been Bryan and the knife sheath is legit, blah, 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 all these things, okay, why it could have ended up the way that it was. And I'll just say, lack of there being any sort of SA doesn't mean that there wasn't SA intended. It could literally just mean that SA was interrupted, which is one of my big theories, if it is Bryan. We'll get into that one day. I know a lot of you people are like begging me to do that, because I'm so like, I try to be so objective and try to make everything make sense on both sides. But I do have theories, guys, and they work. Not gonna lie, the theories that I have work just fine for Bryan being the guy. I just don't have enough real proof in real life where it actually matters that that's the case here.
Yeah, I hear you. But I do think that he knew that Ethan was around that house a lot, because he had stalked the house, if you believe the prosecutors.
What do you mean, if you believe the prosecutors, Harvey? Santa stood up in court and got on to the survey man, because the survey man put on the survey for change of venue. Did you hear, have you seen, read, or heard that Bryan Kohberger stalked the victims? And prosecutors stood up and said, you know, that's a false statement. Catch up, Harvey. You need to catch up, honey.
They have numerous, they have evidence that he had gone there numerous times and just watched the house.
No, they don't.
So it sounds like he knew the lay of the land inside, which means he knew who was there. And Ethan's girlfriend was there, which is why he was there. And he slept over. So I don't know that he.
Okay, see, and this is another reason why I didn't want to do anything whenever I saw the clips of the TMZ thing to begin with. It just doesn't sound like he knows a damn thing about a damn thing. Which is probably why I should do a video on it, because he doesn't sound like he knows a damn thing about a damn thing. He's one of these other ones that are mainstream, that are out here getting bits and pieces from other sources, not doing it themselves, not looking things up themselves, not trying to figure it out themselves, that are just coming out here and doing this. So while, yes, he might be on the side of, yo, guys, this don't really make a lot of sense, he's also out here spewing out false facts, because no, the prosecution did not say that, sir. Look, we even got Papa Roger over here telling him he's an idiot.
Be oblivious to Ethan being there. But, you know, again, even if Ethan wasn't there, when he does this to the first person, you would assume there would be screams and that other people would wake up and see him. And unless he planned on taking everybody out of the house, somebody's going to ID this guy and it's game over. So, look, again, I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying the circumstances are boldly weird here.
How is it that a PhD student in criminology could think that you could pull it off? but for the fact it's a party house, and maybe that was the equation, any of the screaming is going to be written off as partying. And as it turns out, from some of the early affidavits, Dylan Mortensen said that she heard Kaylee, it sounded like she was playing with her dog. Likely she was being murdered. And then she heard Xana whimpering and someone saying, you know, it's okay, I'm here to help. And that Dylan didn't think anything of it because it's a party house and it's so noisy.
See, and that's not written in an affidavit, the whole thing about like Dylan not thinking anything of it because it's so noisy. That was rumors. The PCA doesn't put that sort of like twist on that narrative of the noises and Dylan getting up and open the door. Okay. It doesn't. Those were in articles and in other things that we heard in the very beginning of this, before we had a Bryan Kohberger, before we knew about the party that Ethan and Xana were at, before we started getting details about the Corner Club. Okay. Before we started getting into the timeline and the details and the, what did you tell Adams? Okay. That was part of the narrative, that she heard these noises, thought it was just a bunch of people partying, told them shut the F up. Okay. That was something that was told to us for like a good couple of weeks. Even people that know Dylan, apparently know Dylan, have come out and said the exact same thing that was rumored before. That she thought it was a party situation, and she even had yelled up the stairs, is what they've said it, up the stairs to shut the F up, which is another reason why a lot of people thought she was downstairs in Bethany's room, even though technically there's still an upstairs whenever you're on the second floor. But that also alludes to there was some noises going on upstairs on that third floor where Dylan felt the need to tell him, hey, shut up, you're too loud. So if that ends up being true, then she cannot sit here and say, oh, I didn't see or hear anything. No, you heard enough to tell people, shut up. So I guess we'll see what's true whenever it comes to trial.
Okay, but it was also 4:30 in the morning when this happened. And usually that's not when the party is at high pitch. And secondly, I think he knew they were sleeping. I don't think he would have gone in the house if he thought everybody was awake roaming around. So I think he went in knowing it was quiet. And I'm not so much talking about the neighbors as I'm...
And see, he can't sit here and be like, oh, this doesn't make any sense, but I think he went in there because he knew it was going to be quiet and they were asleep. Which one? Which one is it?
Talking about people in the house, unless he felt he could take out 6 people, that there was a huge risk that the first person would scream loud enough that everybody else would wake up. They would ID him, even if they didn't overpower him, and they would know exactly who it is. They'd give the description to the police and be arrested in 12 hours. So,
or not.
You know, I just don't buy the party house theory, even though it was a party house.
The DoorDash part. The DoorDash part is so perplexing because that DoorDash was on the back door or the front door, I'm not even sure which,
exactly.
at 4
Don't
o'clock
act like
in the
you
morning.
know.
And the perp, be it Kohberger or someone else, depending, you know, was within minutes of that. It's astounding they didn't cross paths or at least see each other. Or maybe that was the opportunity, again, if he's guilty, that Kohberger saw as a chance to be in the house where nobody would suspect an odd...
And see, that's also stupid too, because in order for that to be a reality, they can't stand up. The prosecution cannot stand up and claim that there's no connections, no stalking, no nothing between Kohberger and the victims. Because in order for him to have been able to use the DoorDash as a distraction, he would have had to have some sort of surveillance into their phones, into their computers, into some sort of security system for him to even know that it was made. Or it was made by somebody else as a distraction. Because that's a big theory too, that Xana's not the one who actually ordered it. It just happened to get delivered and it was used as a distraction, as a way to kind of like throw things off, which is possible. Which is possible.
That guy walking through the house because DoorDash was there.
That's true too. And look, and I understand that. And I don't want to just focus on this, Ashley, because there's a lot of evidence here. I mean, the DNA on the knife sheet.
That's the only thing that is,
just the fact that he had said that he was hanging around that area because he liked looking at stars, even though it was cloudy, and he put himself right.
No. They never once said that he was in that area. The alibi doesn't say a damn thing about him being in that area. It actually says the opposite. It actually says that he went west instead of east that night, which is the opposite of him claiming that he was in the area. Damn, Harvey hasn't like paid attention to a damn thing, has he?
Right by the scene of the crime, you know, in addition to, you know, taking his cell phone with him, turning it on and off, as opposed to leaving it at home when it's on. I mean, that's kind of a...
That's the first thing that kind of blew my mind whenever we found out what he did for a living. And that's whenever I was like, nah, ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Basic thing, especially if you're studying criminal justice. So, you know, he screwed up a lot if he did it, but there's a lot of evidence that he did.
No, there's not.
I mean, those are...
Ew, look at that stupid face he's making. There's a lot of evidence that he did. No, there's not. No, there's not.
Two massive rookie moves, right? Taking your cell phone with you and thinking you're smart enough that turning it off once you're driving. Yeah. And then number two, leaving the knife sheath behind. Because as we have come to understand, you know, the murders on the third floor happened first and the knife sheath was up there. So he would have been leaving the house without the knife sheath, and he left again, if he's guilty, the first murders, he left the sheath behind. So real rookie move. And let's talk a little more about that theory of yours about going 0 to 60 in your first murder, that it's very, very unlikely. In your special, in Strange and Suspicious, you do have some experts who actually...
Is that what it's called? Strange and Suspicious? That's what I'm going to look for.
Actually say, maybe it's not that weird. Maybe somebody can go from 0 to 60 because spree killers do it all the time.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And by the way, it's not a special. This is actually a series that's on the Fox stations around the country in the big markets. It's Monday through Friday. So
This
how about
episode,
that?
yeah.
But yes, we had people. We have like LAPD, retired cop, private investigators, and others who said what you said, which is it is not necessarily unusual where people can create fantasies and then act out on the fantasy. That's true. Where I come from is this. My dad owned a liquor store, and I worked in the store when I was a kid. And I remember we used to have a lot of people coming in stealing things, stealing Playboy, stealing candy. And I remember talking to my dad about it. And we would talk about the fact that people who come in and they steal Playboys and steal candy and whatnot, that they keep graduating upward. And eventually some of them end up robbing banks. This would be like somebody robbing a bank in their first outing and skipping my dad's liquor store.
You mean like the 12 and 13-year-olds who robbed a bank at gunpoint for funsies? You mean like psychopaths who just go and like get weapons and then walk into a crowd and just unleash for no reason? That kind of psychology is completely different than what we see here. Completely different.
And for some reason, the liquor store metaphor always has stuck with me. And it's odd to me that somebody would commit a crime of this magnitude with this many people, thinking that they could do it with just a knife in the middle of the night with a 3-level house. That's pretty damn bold. Even if you have fantasies, I'm not sure if somebody is smart, and he is smart, would say, I'm going to act on this fantasy because I think I can pull it off. It feels improbable.
It does. It does.
Yeah, I mean, this is Capote level violence. And I always like to say there are a lot of smart criminals out there, and they always think they're smarter than all of the crime solvers. And typically they're not. One last quick question for you, Harvey Levin, because you know how much I adore you. And
the difference here, if Bryan Kohberger is the guy, which I doubt because of all of the mistakes that were made here, he's not just some regular person who thinks he's smarter than the crime solvers. He's someone on his way to being a doctorate level crime solver. Okay? That's why none of these things make sense. He didn't get where he is by failing classes and being ignorant and stupid and making mistakes. He got to where he was before all this crazy shit because he was meticulous, and he was meticulous is really the only way that I can really put it. He got to the point to where he was good enough at what he was doing to where now he's grading paperwork. Okay, that takes a lot of dedication to get to that spot. It does. So I just don't see somebody who got all that way making the littlest mistakes ever. The literal second that he realized his phone was still on whenever he left his apartment would have been the clue, oh, tonight ain't the night. Tonight ain't the night. There's no way that he would have kept going if this were him. Not whenever he knows better. Not whenever his entire life's mission is to be in this field. It doesn't make sense.
What's your over-under on this? What do you think is actually going to happen? I know the theories we've espoused here, but what do you really think is going to happen in Idaho?
Well, I mean, look, there is a lot of evidence linking this guy to the crime.
There's not. Stop saying
I haven't heard all of it, but when you look at the knife sheath, when you look at the DNA, when you look at the cell phone, when you look at him even...
Again, the cell phone records that were mentioned in court, the location of the home and the time of the crime, that information is gone. They can't do anything to Bryan because of it, and they can't do anything to anybody else because of it, because it's just poofed. So again, get your shit together, Harvey, because you don't know anything.
Acknowledging that he was around there, where you've got him essentially stalking that place.
I'm done. I'm not even finishing this. How long does it have? It has like a minute left. I'm not. Okay. Yeah. I don't understand how this man is out here basically the male version of Nancy Grace. Like, he's not as like hardcore as Nancy Grace is, but these are both people that used to actually be attorneys, real actual practicing lawyers in the courtroom. And they're coming out here after being fed information by outside sources because they no longer do their research themselves, and they're getting all kinds of stuff wrong. Just the simple fact that it's been like, what, 2-ish months? About 2 months now, maybe? I don't know exactly, maybe a little bit less. I don't know. Since we found out that the whole like stalking allegations and the social media allegations, that all of us were right for having questions and all that stuff, because the prosecution stood up in court and told the survey man, hey, you know that's a false statement. Okay? So I don't understand how all this time later, this man who literally has a tabloid website. Like, he chases stories about Gypsy Rose and the Kardashians. Okay, that's what this place does. I don't understand how that they are that far behind in information for him to sit there and say something like, "Oh, the prosecution stated this." No, they didn't. They said the opposite, as my past self definitely pointed out in that little clip. So, it's wild to me. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane how they can just come out here and put all of this like incredibly false information. I don't get it. I don't get it. I might not be able to find like every little detail, and somebody else might have dug deeper and found something else besides what I found, but I'm never going to come out here and give you a bunch of bullshit. I'm going to give you what I found, what is being shown to me by the way that I'm searching things. Just like with the whole Ann Taylor was resigning from the county to go work for the public defender's office for the actual state. I didn't know, by the small amount of research I did, that this was actually something that's been in the works for a while, and that by like I think October of this year, that's how all of the public defenders are going to be. So this isn't something that's just Ann Taylor specific or for this case specific. It's something that's in the works and something that's about to be happening like statewide for all of the public defenders in the state of Idaho. The only reason why it even caught people's attention is because it had to do with Bryan Kohberger being actually listed in one of the documents. But this is a change that doesn't change anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's a change that's happening, but it's not a change that's happening in the case that we're paying attention to, which is why I didn't dig that far into it to try to find out about how long this has been happening and if Ann Taylor was opposed to it or not, and all these other details that I was told by other people, because it doesn't have anything to do with the case. And that's what it all came down to. What was happening and the conversations being had was causing a lot of chaos in a case that the changes didn't have a damn thing to do with. And that was my whole point with coming out with the video and just being like, hey guys, chill out. This is what's happening. All this means is that she gets a different signature on her paycheck. It's literally the only thing that was going on. So I'm glad that there are other people that had more information, but we being out here seem to be the only ones that are actually paying attention to court hearings, actual court documents, see how we can have conversations, add details where details might be missed for whenever it comes to facts. But then we have these people out here that literally used to be in the courtroom under oath doing things the right way, now just out here all willy-nilly saying a bunch of crazy shit that ain't true. That the people that are pressing the charges are even said is not true. That's just wild to me. That's absolutely insane. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. Did you see this clip this morning? And have you seen the other clips of Harvey talking to his team about the Idaho case? Because that's the next one of TMZs that I'm going to be talking about here. Wild. Harvey better get it together, bro. Better get it together. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. See y'all.